Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkey's Outdoors. Get all your hound hunting needs at conkeys.com. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest feists to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game. Need reliable housing for your animals? Animal Housing Solutions in Mayo, Florida builds custom coops, kennels, and shelters that are strong, durable, and designed with your animal's comfort in mind. Whether you need a large-scale kennel or a small custom chicken coop, they've got you covered. Quality craftsmanship, great service, and solutions built to last. That's the Animal Housing Solution promise. Check them out at Animal Housing Solutions on Facebook. Animal Housing Solutions, where your animals come first. Your dogs deserve the very best, and that's exactly what Elite Nutrition Canine Products delivers. Packed with premium ingredients and backed by science, their formulas are designed to boost energy, support joint health, and keep coats shiny and strong. Whether you've got a working dog, a hunting partner, or just a loyal best friend, Elite Nutrition gives them the fuel they need to thrive. Don't settle for ordinary. Choose the nutrition your dog deserves. Find Elite Nutrition Canine Products today and give your dog the Elite Edge. Go to shopeliteglobal.com and use the code TREE10 on your next purchase.
Well, I was hunting with some friends from Montana and ended up running the lion. Well, that lion, I think it was a couple of days old in the snow, and it had been trekking through some deer. Anyways, my friends, we were all going, and some of the dogs came back, and a few of them were trashing, but to my surprise, my 5 or 6 were still moving forward. And I was starting to get a little cocky. And it's like fun being cocky in front of Montana boys, because they're still, in my opinion, one of the toughest crowds out there, And I was telling my buddy Justin Duffy, and Brad, I was like, well, gosh, guys, they were picking up a dog here and they were picking up a dog there. And I think there were some dogs that also were out there, but they had a few scragglers. So I started getting pipey. And then all of a sudden, I think I had 6 dogs out there. All 6 of them popped up treed. And I was like, man, sorry, Duff, I don't know how those mountain dogs of yours are doing, but I'm treed, so we need to, and I started giving them crap, and do we still need to look for your dogs, and we were joking around with each other so bad. Anyways, we started hiking into where my dogs are treeing, and Brad Schultz was with us, and Brad said, hey man, I have a dog, is it, that came back, is it okay if I bring him with? Absolutely, let's go. So we go over, and all my dogs, they're on top of this pine tree, and they are just going at it. All 6 of them. I was so proud every one of them didn't trash, or I was so cocky. I'm not even going to lie. Me and Duff start walking around the tree and start looking for the cat. And we start looking for the cat, and there wasn't even a cockroach in that tree. I don't know what got them so riled up to slick tree on me, but I had my 6 best dogs at the time out there slick treeing. And I am just like, good freaking gravy. And Duffy's just like, you're so going to get it. It's not even funny, And I'm like, geez, insert foot and mouth. Meanwhile, Brad starts looking at his GPS, and Brad's been doing it for a long time, so he's a cool cat and everything, and he just stood back while me and Duff were giving each other crap. And anyways, he says, my male just made a loop and he's starting to line out. So we went to where Brad's male had lined out, and sure as heck, he had found the lion track and kept pushing it. So I got all my dogs and put them on the track behind Brad's, and Duff had his dogs back in on it and everything. Long story short, my dogs could never catch up to old Bradley Pooh's male dog there. So rather than we got to the tree, and rather than get upset, I went up to Brad and said, "Hey, next time you breed that male, let me know and I'll take a pup." And guess what? I have a pup in my kennel. So,
There you go.
anyways, that was a fun time. We
You think
laughed
that's
pretty hard
bad?
that day.
6 dogs treat on a slick tree. The first time I ever went bear hunting, kind of a couple different groups ended up getting in together. We had probably 20 some dogs on the ground.
Yeah.
Ended up treat. I'm like, cool, this is awesome. Hearing that many dogs on a tree is intense. We get in there, we're bear hunting, and there is absolutely nothing to be found in that tree. And my buddy's like I said, this is the first time I've ever been bear hunting. My buddy's like, you don't really slick treat bear hunting very often. Like, this is not the way this is supposed to go.
Yeah, I mean it happens. Those dogs can rile each other up, and it's funny because I had one dog in there that's done it maybe once, in its entire life. I had dogs I had one female under that tree that was, I think she was 5 at the time. And she was out there. I mean, I love walking into trees with females because those females are always looking for you. They're always looking for your approval. The males, they don't give a crap about you. They just want to show everybody they're the ones that did it,
Mm-hmm.
And she was just looking at me like, it's up there. I'm telling you, these guys got me convinced. And I'm like, well, if you're saying it's up there, I don't know. Maybe Star Trek beamed it up or something because we don't see Jack. Oh, I swear, he just started grinning more and more as there was no cat in that tree.
Yep.
It's all good fun, man.
Exactly. Well, before we get too far into this, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Nathan Lopez.
And where are you from?
I currently live in Rigby, Idaho.
But you didn't start in Idaho, did you?
If you want to go back, I was born in Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Okay.
And, I've lived in Acapulco, Mexico, Jal, New Mexico, Dumas, Texas, Lubbock, Texas. Oh gosh almighty, my sister was born. Gosh, I can't even remember where my sister was born. Yeah, we bounced around a bit. Dad was a minister, so
Okay.
he preached the good word and traveled around doing it, and then ended
Nice.
up in 1994. I believe they moved up to Idaho, and Dad called me up and said, "You need to check this state out." So,
Cool.
95, I moved down. I believe I was 19 years old.
Okay. That's where you've been ever since?
I've been in Idaho ever since. Lived in St. Anthony for a while, Idaho Falls for a bit, and now I live in Rigby, and those 3 towns aren't more than 30, 40 miles apart.
Gotcha. Now, with bouncing all around, and your dad being a minister, did you run hounds growing up, or?
I never did. Okay. And it's funny on that because I never ran hounds. We always lived in town, but Dad and I we loved fishing. And we fished a lot. When we lived in Texas, a lot of our friends worked on the ranches out of town and farms. Mm-hmm. So we got to do a little bit of pheasant hunting and some rabbit hunting, but never the hound hunting. The only thing I ever knew about the hound hunting was where the red fern grows. I remember watching that movie when I was a kid, and I never was exposed to the coon hunting or the big game hunting, so I never knew much about it until I moved to Idaho.
How did you end up getting into hounds then?
Well, that's another funny story. I was a bait sitter. I used to sit bear bait. Mm-hmm. I loved it. It was therapeutic. I'd get done working. You could just sit down there, and I got to a point where I was falling asleep on the tree stands just because I just like being out there. It's like I'd get a lawn chair and park myself about 50 yards off the bait and just kind of relax. Loved it. And one day, I'll never forget, there was 2 houndsmen that came through. Well, their hounds came through my bait, and I was pretty livid. I was not. I definitely did not like hound hunters my first go, but it was it was a good experience because I met a gentleman named Jeremy Green at the time, and he was a very nice guy. And I was pretty pipey when they came to get their dogs, and there was definitely a little bit of tension with everybody. But Jeremy was a pretty laid back guy in that. Said, "Hey, if you if you want, you should come hunt with us sometimes. And not it's not what you think it is. Like the dogs didn't know that the bear went through your bait.
Yeah.
They didn't know that had happened, or they were just doing what they're trained to do. And if you like bear hunting, you should come with." And it was good because I worked for Wonder Bread at the time, and I was able to get them some day old bread for their baits. And in return, I went hunting with them one day, and we ended up treeing Sal with two cubs. I'll never forget it. And it was about a mile and a half hike in. And I absolutely just loved the hike, And when I walked under that tree, Jeremy said, "Hey, Sal's with cubs are, they're protected. You can't shoot them." And I just looked at him like, I've had so much fun doing this. I don't want to shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
This was a really good time. And I think I got my first pup about 2 weeks later. Yep. Been doing it ever since.
Heard that story from many people. You go on a hound hunt, and then within a matter of weeks, you got a hound puppy.
It does happen. It's one of those things to where you want to know. To me, I just like being out. I hunt by myself most of the time unless I'm guiding. I like being by myself. I have a friend that I go with every once in a while. Actually, a couple friends, but they like to hunt by themselves as well. And when I got out there and just went for the hike, I did have some company and whatnot, but I really just loved the adventure of getting to where those dogs were caught.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah, you either get a taste for your mouth, or it's just you get a taste for it, or it's not for you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Dogs are barking too loud. You're too tired because you're hiking, or you can't stand the anxiety of not knowing where the dogs are going to end up, and it's just not. It's definitely not for everyone.
For sure. So how long ago was that you got your first hound pup?
I think it was. It was 2002, I believe.
Okay.
2002, I got my first pup to fall. So
you're coming up on 25 years.
I'm getting closer. Yeah, I'm getting really close to the half century in age, and it seems like everything's starting to follow suit with it. But yeah, long enough to where it's just part of life.
Yeah. Now, what was the first pup that you got?
Oh, back then the internet didn't have, Facebook wasn't too popular, but there was the forums, the Water and Hole, the Big Game Houndsman, and I started going to Big Game Houndsman and started listening. I'm a listener. I love listening to people, and just read a bunch of threads and posts on I wanted to bear hunt. I didn't know much on the mountain lions or whatnot, but I wanted to raccoon hunt. I wanted to hunt coon, and I wanted to bear hunt. And so I started just looking up information. What is the most popular bear dog? What which dog is most consistent in use when it comes to bears, and obviously, as we all know, that pointed to the plot.
Yep.
And so I got 3 plots, and the first one was oh my gosh, what was her breeding? She come out of Kevin Hall.
Okay.
So buckskin plot female. And then I picked up a male from a gentleman named Greg Anderson, And Greg Anderson was a very informative gentleman. Had really good advice, and he was a man that has tried everything. He just was very happy with the plots. So I started off with 2 plots, and ended up getting a third male about a year or so later, and hunted those 3 for a while.
Well, that's not what your pack looks like today. So what happened along the way?
Well, there's a unknown legend in our woods, and his name's Jeff Jacobson. And when I first got into it, it was pretty funny because it was the old boys club. You go into the coon hunts and you're out there trying to make conversation, and people don't know you, and they just kind of give you the cold shoulder. Typical old school boys. We get it. We're here. You're not used to seeing us around. All that garbage. But there was one fella named Jeff, and Jeff was very helpful. That anybody that talks to Jeff knows that they'll never be more informed on hounds than Jeff is. Jeff is just, he lives by himself. He's got about, I don't know how many he has now. He's got about 30 or 40 hounds, and I can guarantee you anything over the age of 2 probably can catch anything you put it on. He's a dedicated houndsman. But he took me, and when him and I hunted together, he had, a couple of dogs. And then he started talking to me about other breeds, and he says, "Hey, I'm going to get a dog, a cur walker cross out of Utah. I can get 2 if you want to try one." And I says, "Well, I'm a listener. If you think that it would be fun trying it, well, then I don't, I've only been running hounds for a few years. I'll try one too." And then he tuned me, "Hey, I got a plot out of Virginia that's, they're a bit different than what you have right now." Absolutely. I'll try one of them, and I picked up a mixed up dog out of southern Utah. This is a totally different trailing type of hound, man. It's different than the plots. Very, very track minded. They learn how to trail before they learn how to treat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Why not? And I tell you what, it just spiraled from there. And then Jeff got to a point where he had just had so many dogs that we kind of went our separate ways. He kept growing his pack, and I kept trying to learn from other people. But Jeff really was the staple for why I have so many dogs and so many breeds. I got addicted to socializing. I started talking to houndsmen across the country,
Mm-hmm.
Other houndsmen in the state. And if they invited me, I would go with them. And rather than be disappointed in the hounds that I had, if they had one dog that excelled above the others, I would be just frank. I said, your dog did really good. If you breed that dog, I want one, and it's turned into, I have the funniest, but probably most serious pack out there. I mean, you can pull into that kennel and every one of those dogs is just sitting there quiet. Now, there might be a puppy giving a squeak, but they're very smart and they're very different. I have a little black dog named Crook that you would think he looks like a Rottweiler. He's a leopard cur walker, but he's small, and he comes from a friend of mine named Marty Beard out of North Dakota. And the dog just thinks that he is 500 pounds and built like a brick house,
Mm-hmm.
But he's smart and he knows the game. And I have another dog named Sis that comes from a friend of mine, Dirt Jenkins, that goes back to a gentleman out of Montana. And this is the same. She's a cur walker as well, and she's very, very, very smart. I show up and she has her, she's inside the doghouse, and if I pull up, she'll look to see if I have a dog box. If I don't have a dog box, she knows I'm just there to check on them. If she sees a dog box, you can't shut her up. Have a plot from a buddy of mine named Bill. Bill has always been very good with his plots on finding, good plots, and him and a friend of his named Mike, they're very good as far as trying to keep a good straight line of plot hounds that excel on bear, and they do good. They've made some outcrosses with their breeding with others across the state, and I just love it. I have a little female named Chip, and she's the one plot I have in there, and she's just awesome. I have a dog named Jet. Jet's probably my best male right now, and he's a Walker plot cross, and my buddy Dwayne Hostetler, he's an Amish fella out of northern Montana, has his own woodworking company and everything. He's bona fide Amish, and that dog is just cooler than snot. I went hunting with Dwayne once in Montana, and we turned loose on a bobcat, and I had a few really nice black and tans I was proud of back then, and he had one dog that outperformed mine that stuck on this bobcat. It started raining and even washed all the snow off, and this dog of Dwayne's excelled. And I said, next time you breed that dog, I want a pup. And he's made probably some of the best crosses. It's funny if you meet all these guys and if you compare what you have to what they have, and then you realize that there is a lot of awesome dogs out there. So I'm a Skittles guy. I have to taste the rainbow. I'll always have a different color in there. It's but that all started back with old Jeffrey Joe.
Okay,
for sure.
I just find it very interesting looking at your pack and just seeing vast different dogs in it, and you've even said that to me before, that you have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you should see them work. I guide in Wyoming, and the outfitter I work with, he has he works a unit that has, the population's hit and miss, but for the most part, we can scrounge up a lion or two to catch for hunters, and we do good. We do really good out there. Sometimes the conditions are great, and sometimes they're not. And being in Idaho, we're snow hunters, but you guys can deny it all you want. There's some kind of global warming, or we're going through a heat, phase right now, but the winters aren't what they used to be.
Yeah. And
so I've had to modify things with my pack and try to find some dogs that maybe are a little more track minded and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I've taken them out to Wyoming where there is no snow and let them work the dirt. And it's so funny because, if you were to draw a line from my kennel to the origin of each and every one of my dogs, it looked like a web,
Yeah.
But at the same time, they all work together very well. And it didn't take them long to figure out that this isn't the snow. We're not in Kansas anymore. And they did really well. We ran a couple of cats. We learned some lessons. They learned some lessons. And I learned some lessons. I've caught a few cats in the dirt, but honestly speaking, I don't think I was that far behind them.
Yeah.
But it was definitely fun watching this mix of hounds that I've gotten from so many different friends and houndsmen out there to see, how well, every single, and to be honest with you, I just picked up a blue tick that I don't even like blue ticks. That's, if anything, if I discriminate against any breed, and I had a friend of mine call me up and he's like, and he is very picky with his breeding. He is a very, very picky gentleman, Dan Vogt out of Boise. And he said, Nate, I made a pup. I made a cross, and I want you to try a pup. And I know it's a blue tick, but, maybe it's something worth trying. And that puppy is 10 months old, and he loves to hunt. He trees, he runs, he just acts like he's done it his whole life. And he'd only been out 2 or 3 times before he started working. He was a thinker. And it's funny because I have my stereotypical blue tick in my head, and this dog is not. He's going to be a stallion, not by, I don't get credit for him being a stallion. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Don't think I'm bragging my dogs up that go back to me. It's all these guys that I'm getting them from that have, they're very particular in their taste. And this little blue tick male I have is just, he's going to be a good one. The male I picked up from my buddy in Montana that ended up catching, he's been doing pretty good. He's already learning to run and tree, and it's fun. You have a walker out of Livingston, Montana, with a blue tick that's out of Boise, and I think the male come out of Oregon. And you have Plot Walker that's out of the Canadian border, and it's just a whole conundrum of them, and it's really fun for me. It's really fun watching them work together. It's always fun watching a pack of dogs work, right? But a lot of times they all look the same. It's all the single breed, or it could be a small mix of dogs and whatnot. But a lot of times you just see the same thing, and you look at mine, you think, you think you'd have a whole mix of the whole country working together to catch a lion. Asians, Mexicans, Spaniards, Europeans, they're all out there. I don't care what race you are, you just get out there and catch me that cotton picking cat, for Pete's sake.
Yep. But
they're good fun.
So what do you look for in a dog, since you're trying so many different breeds and different dogs from different people? Like, what makes a dog stay at your place?
I like intelligence is what I like. I like a dog with a brain. There's a lot of gentlemen out there, and once again, it's my flavor and it's my taste. But I like a hound that is definitely driven and has the capability, definitely has the physical, abilities. But if you put all that inside a cranium, it is a lot of fun watching, these dogs work. And some of these guys, I do have some dogs that are, they're slightly line bred, and you can kind of see that, but they can figure stuff out on their own. I don't need to go out there with them. My dogs know that if they make a loss on a lion track, I'm not going to go out there and help them find it. And they're smart enough to know that. If they cast out 800 yards and they hit a south face of slope and they're trying to figure out if that lion walked a ridge or if it's going down through the shell rock, I'm not going to go out there and make a loop with them and hit the snow again. I don't. And some dogs, they just get so concentrated on finding the track and going to the last place. You waste a whole lot of time. And this specific group of dogs that I have, they've really been keen on, if there's a loss, let's make a loop. If we can't find it here, let's check over there. And they'll spend an hour, 2 hours sometimes trying to pick up on the loss. Could I make the race go by quicker? Yes, I sure can. But I let them figure it out. And the dogs that stick to my kennel are hounds that I can, you definitely put the time into them, don't get me wrong, but that I can literally turn them loose from the truck. And if they come back, I'm going home. And they know that. So they do not want to go home, and they will do whatever it takes. Now, that being said, definitely comes with a downfall, because they're also smart enough to be like, well, can you find a lion track? Nope. Can you find a lion track? Nope. Well, we're about a mile from the truck. There's a herd of deer out there. If you want to, if we all go together, they'll think we're still running that line, and we can stretch our legs. And boy, they get smart on me. They get really smart. But it's, to me, brains and whatnot. To me, that's huge. But with it, you definitely have to have, you have to have tough feet on a dog. You definitely have to have a good settled eggs on them. You have to have a good deep chest so you can have some lungs on them. You have to have, apart from the brain, there has to be that natural urge to hunt. That's just something that, the smart, not smart, a lot of dogs, they just want to hunt and go out there and run. And definitely that needs to be in there as well. I have had some that I think I've just gotten too picky on, that they get too smart, and they know the game, and it doesn't appease them. I had one dog that would, and I'm not going to say who it came from, because the gentleman was an awesome guy and he has some phenomenal hounds, but she she had gotten her foot hurt and was finding herself falling behind the race. And rather than try and just stick to the track and eventually show up, she would start slick training to pull the dogs over to her so she wouldn't have to run anymore. I mean, give her some credit, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty smart dog because she knew that I was just going to keep. She knew I was going to keep. I was just going to sit down and wait for them to stop. You know, she was smart enough to know that. And she also knew that if she came back to the truck that I was disappointed because she very, very much wanted my approval, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it ended up causing some serious problems, especially with Pup.
Oh, you know, I'm sure.
But, you know, that's part of it. They're not all going to be what you want them to be. And the ones that I have, this young pack that I've been working here, they've been just a treat to work. They're awesome.
That's pretty cool. And like I said, just very interested in why you liked, you know, because it's not like all of your dogs are the same. So it's, you know, most people, it's like, I like this certain type of dog. That's why I have a whole pack of them. You know?
Absolutely. And I think that just goes with a typical, you know, with the typical human mentality. I mean, if you go back into psychology, you know, but by nature, we like consistency, you know, and
Conkeys Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkeys motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkeys carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well.
People like the same routine. They like the same schedule. They like, you know, it's just how we are as humans. You know, it's nothing against houndsmen. People do that all the time with anything. You pull into a driveway and if you got a Chevy guy, what kind of vehicles is he going to have in his driveway? You know, they're all going to be Chevys. You got a Ford guy, what are you going to see in the driveway? You know, and if his kid wants, I don't want to have a truck, Dad. Well, I don't care. You're getting a Ford. Well, I'm not going to drive a truck. Okay, well then you're driving a Ford Focus. You know that's you know, that's it. You have your brands of cars. You have this, but you know, one thing that just sets me different is my dad never he never steered me in one direction. You know what I mean? He never said when he was a minister, this is the only church that's going to take you to heaven. Mm-hmm. You know, he never did that. You know, he used to tell me jokes about churches, and he would even make fun of our church. You know, he's a minister for the Church of Christ, and he said there was the best joke, but it makes the perfect sense, right? There's a Catholic, a Baptist, and a Church of Christ person. They all died. Or no, a Catholic, a Baptist, and a Jewish rabbi all died, and Jesus is taking them to this big building where everyone spends eternal life in heaven. And he goes to the Baptist minister, "Hey, this is the room for Baptists. This is where you'll spend eternal life in heaven." And he gets the Jewish rabbi and said, "This is for the Jews, and this is where you'll spend eternal life in heaven." And he's going with the Catholic priest, and Jesus looks back at the Catholic priest and says, "Hey, be really quiet. This is the Church of Christ room. They think they're the only ones here." So, and he would say that, you know, just with just with the church that he preached for. And it taught me that, you know, I think things can be better if you're a little more open-minded. You know, if this dog works for you, that's great. I definitely want one of them, but I also want to try this one and this one and this one because, you know, contrary to popular belief, and maybe there's a few guys that aren't going to like me for it, I'm really having a hard time finding the best breed and the best cross ever made in the entire universe out there. You know, and I've tried a lot. I've tried a whole lot. And I'm sure there's some guys thinking right now, if they hear what I say, oh, you haven't tried one of mine. You know what? I probably haven't, and if you strike a conversation with me sometime and we see some dogs work and I'm impressed, I might be begging for one of your pups too.
Yeah.
It's funny because nothing is the best. We're not the best people. I'm not the best father. We all, there's always room to improve, right?
Absolutely.
And I think when it comes to finding the dogs that, can go out there and really make it happen, if you open your mind a little bit and mix it up, It's funny because I was talking to a buddy of mine, Bracken. He called me up on the phone just this morning and he's like, I think I'm going to try one of those Walker dogs. we went to the Boise banquet. That's a 4-hour drive for us. We talked all the way to Boise and all the way back. And I was kind of telling them kind of the same thing I was talking about with you. And you know what? Maybe I'll try one of those Walker dogs, and those are some of the bigger rivalries, the Plots and the Walkers. And,
Oh yeah.
And, so it's kind of funny. And you know what? I respect Bracken all that much more for it. Here's a good old boy, just diehard Plot guy. And he's like, well, maybe, he's hunted with me before and Bracken knows what my little pack of misfits can do. And well, maybe if Nate's doing this good, maybe I should give it a shot too. And,
Yeah.
Those boys that are living close to Bracken, I'm telling you, he's going to be stepping up his game here soon after he realizes that there's all sorts of stuff out there that can work for you.
Oh yeah. Now you've kind of mentioned it here and there, and that you've been to quite a few banquets, and you're pretty involved. But I'd like to kind of touch on your involvement in the hound world and how you got involved in all that, and what all you're doing these days.
The thing is, a lot of these things aren't even my ideas, right? I just go with the flow. I've always loved meeting people, and I've always liked getting to know people. When it comes to me and hunting, I like being by myself. But I'm also curious, I'm also curious about people and different cultures and whatnot. And this actually all started quite a few years ago when my good friend Braden goes up to me and says, I'm thinking about going to the Utah banquet. Do you want to go? And I said, you know what? Why not? Let's go, and we went, and it was a tough crowd, those cowboys, they're pretty proud out there, and they should be. There's, in my eyes, I've hunted their country and they're legends in my book, but I made up my mind. I thought, you guys are going to be my friends, whether you like it or not. So you better get ready because I'll be back next year, and there's a few people from the internet that said, oh, we thought we saw you at the banquet. And we're like, yeah, we were there. We made eye contact. You guys just didn't know what to think, and we get it. We understand, you guys have all been having the same banquet with the same fellas showing up, a new kid or two, and that's about it. And here comes a couple of potato peelers down the road. But, then the next year we went and they started opening up, and we really got to know them. And it just, it really sparked a curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've been running with lots of guys, with friends in Montana, a couple friends in Wyoming. And I know that there was different crowds, but I did not know that there was that many different types. Like Montana has their own group, Utah has their own group, Wyoming's their own, or Idaho's their own group, and they're their own group in our corner, in the Boise corner, and in the North Idaho corner. We're all different, and it is, I'm telling you, it is so awesome to absorb so much information on hound hunting from the mouths of so many people. Like I love, love, love listening to people in their stories. I definitely, when it's my turn to talk, guys know I can get yucky and I have my fair share of stories to tell, but I love listening to adventures. I love listening to stories because it makes me want to push myself more to have more of those adventures. It just does. And once we started getting to know Utah and who they were and how they operate, not only did we make new friends, but we also learned more things. And that is progression. All right. And I believe that in our sport, we're at a stopping point and we need to progress. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we realize that it's not, I don't think it's something that's just a fun thing anymore. I think it's something that we have to do. You have to go out there and meet more guys. You have to go out there and shake more hands. You have to go out there and network. You have to go out there and make more connections. You have to. So we just kept going, and we went to Colorado's first banquet, and we had an absolute blast over there. Had a really, really good time. We've gone to just last weekend. My buddy Bracken and I went to the Idaho houndsman banquet,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the part that I love is you go there and they have such a tight knit group, but it's growing, and it was a tight packed room, and that's just awesome, and you get to know those guys, and they're, like I said, they're their own culture. They all have their own things to say. Matter of fact, I have a mountain cur walker cross that comes from one of the members of the Idaho Club. And then you go to northern Idaho, and we went to Coeur d'Alene.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Brand Quinton and I went up there and had such a great time. Chuck, our president, and his wife showed up. We all went in, pitched in, raised some money for the club, got some games going and whatnot. And this was their first banquet. Let me tell you, all seats were filled.
That's awesome.
Everything was filled, and it's you're seeing that people are starting to understand how involved you need to get, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we got to keep going. North Dakota, I'm good friends with the president over there, and Cody, he's trying to make something out there. Luke Worthington, he's going. He's got his Wyoming club going. Sooner or later, they're going to have their banquet, and we're going to go. The Montana Houndsman Association, they just had their first banquet last year, and once again, I love those Montana boys, and we had a really good time, and some of those guys don't really like each other, man. It's all animosity. They all have something against each other, whether they're braiding in their canyon or one guy killed another, but it's awesome because you got to see that. And I think that connecting the dots from one club, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. I have people that get involved. I'm like, these are the people that I know. I put them all in the group chat. This is this president, this is this president, this is this president, and put them in that chat, and then I pull myself out.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are all presidents. You guys do your talk. And it's fun. It's fun, and you get to know people, and on top of just trying to erase the lines between states, so we can keep supporting each other, one club to the other, one hound hunter to the other. You learn so much about hound hunting as well.
Oh yeah.
You learn so many different styles, and in my opinion, I might subconsciously do it as well to help me be a better hound hunter. I just use it. I might be using it as an excuse. I'm going to go to the banquet to, go talk to these boys, but I heard so and so was there, so heck, maybe I can pick their brains on how their dogs work, and you get connected.
Oh yeah.
You meet more people, you learn more things, you become smarter, you become, you have a better pack of hounds. But most importantly, when it comes to the clubs, it's about, raising funds for that cause. Mm-hmm. And that has been, I think, the more we're going to these banquets, and, we're getting more and more people involved that are traveling, to their banquet, and then they're traveling to another banquet. It's really showing that people are realizing this whole Idaho's better than Utah, Utah's better than Nevada, Arizona's better than California stuff is we don't have the pleasure of having that kind of rivalry anymore. You know, we don't, the biggest fight amongst us shouldn't be whose dogs are the best or who caught the most bear or anything like that. You know, which state has the best dogs. Just because your dogs can catch a lion on the dirt, you know, doesn't mean that our dogs that hunt different terrain excel in their own ways, you know, and vice versa. Just because you can catch a lion in the snow doesn't mean you have a dog that's capable of catching a lion in the dirt, you know, and that's just the way it is. The whole we're better than you, that, you know, that's anymore, it's got to stop. And, you know, going to these clubs and connecting people has shown that I think hound hunters are starting to see things. They're starting to see that, you know, we need to start getting along. Oh, Hunter Meekum, he's a pretty popular fellow with the Utah boys, and he wished me happy birthday the other day, and I just wrote him back and said, "You wish me happy birthday. We have to be friends whether you like it or not." You know, that's sorry, bud. You know, you and your horse and me and my lowrider. I don't really care. You know, we're gonna hold hands because that's what it's gonna take. You know, and these banquets being as successful as they are and whatnot, I think that's all attributed to people that want to go out there and try to connect one group to the next, to the next, to the next. So, so the cause can get stronger. You know, it's the only way it's going to work.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I think you have a good way of putting it. And at the same point, not only are you, you know, saying it, you're actually putting it into practice, and you're actually going to all these different banquets, and you're putting your money out there, and, you know, it's not cheap to travel around. You know, you're saying you're going to all these different banquets. It's not like, oh yeah, that's 30 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
You're hopping on a plane or spending half a day, all day in a truck to drive to one of these things.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, it's an adventure. You know, if you have an open mind and the ability to meet people, it is an adventure. You know, Brad and I had I think it's about 6-hour drive to Coeur d'Alene from home, and we loved it. We were counting bridges all the way. You know, once we got past Missoula, we were just having a good time. And to me, I really, really, really enjoy meeting people. So it doesn't bother me to go up to someone and, hey, thanks for coming down. Thanks for making it to the banquet. If they create small talk, it seems that within 10 minutes we're crying because, you know, we both lost a dog on, you know, to a car wreck or, you know, or something, you know, and it's just funny because you connect to so many different people, but in the end, everyone's got a common ground, you know, everyone's common in a lot of ways and whatnot. And you know, that's just the way it is. The club, and once again, that's the important thing. I'm lucky because I have a business that has been doing well for me, so I can make these trips, and I'm blessed. I'm blessed by it. It's not. It's been good for our family, and it's been able to pay for the bills, and then it's also given me the opportunity to go out there and meet. But you know, there is going to come a time when there's people that are wanting to represent, and they're wanting to go out there and do these things that have a large family to support, that are young. You know, I'm not going to state my age, but I'm getting older, you know, and so with time, as you get older, you know, it just seems that for some coincidental reason, the more kids that leave the house, the more money you have in the bank. You know, I don't know how that comes to be, but there's people out there that want to do that, and we have to have fun set up for those people, because somewhere out there's somebody that's really passionate that's going to make a change, and we need to find those people. And like in all things, we need the funds and we need the bank account to make sure that if we know of somebody that needs help or somebody that has a drive, we can go out there and give them a hand. And once again, that's why I'm very stern, or not necessarily stern, but I'm very passionate about people going to these banquets and clubs supporting banquets across state lines, clubs supporting different banquets within the state line. There doesn't need to be a rivalry between our three clubs.
Mm-hmm.
We're all getting along. We all have the same common ground, so we're all one front. And it's not, well, so and so is not going to the Fish and Game Commission because Johnny's going.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I don't really like your style. You're kind of a goofy guy, but you know what? You're here. We're here to do the same job. We're all carpenters. We're all bricklayers. We're all here. You're your way, you're your way, you're your way, but we're here to build something, and that's what we have to do.
Exactly.
We don't, there's not a choice in it. If it's not me traveling, somebody else is going to do it. People eventually realize that if you want to keep something, you have to progress. You have to start, you have to diversify, you have to do things differently. And I'm just blessed with the mentality I got from my old man to travel around and meet new people and see things. And it's been probably a pain for some people, but it's been a blessing for me.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. But this Saturday, you're not traveling though. Well, I mean, by comparison.
Yeah. Well,
you
this Saturday, I just have a short drive.
You got a banquet at home, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. This Saturday, the 28th, we have our annual banquet in Rexburg, Idaho, at the Madison High School gymnasium.
Okay.
Doors open at noon.
And that's for the Eastern Idaho Houndsman Association, right?
Yes, sir. And we have a pretty good crew. I mean, we're there to accommodate. If you're flying in, let us know. We'll pick you up at the airport. If you need a place to stay because you're a little tight on funds, we have basements. We have other groups coming down that are renting houses, and yeah, we have a good old time over there. It's very the banquet's very family friendly, but there's plenty of stuff for the adults out there, and it's just it's a really good time. We try to make it to where we try to accommodate as many people as we can, and we've had nothing but positive feedback from the people that attend our banquets.
That's awesome. That's something that's I don't know. I feel the banquets are more common in the Western states than here in the Eastern states.
Yep.
Like I don't honestly know of any Eastern organizations, associations, clubs that have a banquet like kind of what you've described to me.
I think the Wisconsin State Bear Hunters Association has a really big banquet, and I believe the Michigan Bear Hunters Association has.
You're right.
Their banquet as well. I'm not. I wish I could be more versed, and I do have some friends that are east of the Mississippi. I just don't know enough about their organizations. What I do know is that some of their clubs are huge.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, that is just flat out awesome. Some of the clubs you guys have back out there seem to draw quite the crowd. And, we our banquet last year, I think, brought in about 600 people. There's some banquets out there that draw 1,000 to, I think, 3,000 people, if I remember correctly. And they're a huge, huge, monstrous event.
Yeah.
And you know what? We'll get there. I think the reason you didn't hear so much about the banquets out west is because they were just that. It was a dinner and everybody showed up. I don't think that the reputation of a banquet 10 years ago is what it is now. The banquets were just everybody gets in, try to bring a buddy with a little bit of money so they can buy some raffle tickets, maybe an auction item, and that's it. And it has grown from that to we need to draw more people. We need to draw everybody. So we really put our banquets out a lot more than we used to. We really try to bring it out. Utah really tries to bring their banquet out. Montana, same thing, try to get as many people to know. And it's because starting to realize that, we need to draw more people to support us. And it's not just, the banquets aren't just for the houndsmen and the houndswomen, we try to dedicate a lot of our resources to the children. And we try to make sure that every child that walks in has a bag full of goodies. Parents love them because they're always occupied with either the headlamp or a book or something that they get in there. And, we go in there and try to accommodate the youth, the young, and we really want, we make that impression on them, and it can be, how do I say it, a stepping stone to keeping things going in the future. Just because you don't run dogs, or just because you never even hunted, doesn't mean you can't come to our banquet. There's lots and lots of people that come to our banquet, don't even own a hound. They just are friends with, they're just friends with, a hound hunter. Or to be honest with you, some of them just got a flyer on social media or something, and it says, children, if you register a child, you get a prize or something like that. And the parents are like, well, what are you doing? I don't know. So, well, do you want to go to a banquet? Well, why not? How much does it cost? $25 a person to get in. Well, geez, man, that's $50. We just get breadsticks and salad dressing at this restaurant, and it's freaking $75. We'll go over here and get the steak or, whatever they're serving and see what they have. And they have all these raffle items for kids, and they go out there and let their kids go out there and have a good time. And I'm telling you, that's so encouraged here. It's not even funny. Our banquets, we really try to bring in the non-hound hunting crowd as well, because we have to reach out to as many people as we can on who we really are, because we've let other organizations get away so much with painting a black picture of us. It is so hard to get that out.
Yeah.
So if you concentrate on the youth, that's the future. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And then there's another crowd out there that can still help, and that's the crowd that determines everything in the country. People just don't know it. And they call it the silent majority. And they're out there, and they're listeners, and they sit and they watch and they observe and they make their decision based on that. And if they come to one of our banquets, who's to say that we don't have a future governor or a future president, show up to one of our banquets, and they go out there, they have a good time, they get to know us, they see that we're not what the media portrays us to be, what other organizations portray us to be, and it leaves a mark, and if for some reason they get to an office of power, they have that seed, and it's our responsibility to try to plant that seed on as many people as possible, because if somebody tries to sneak in an amendment on a bill secretly outlawing hounds, and this person that we left a positive impression on reads through it and actually knows about hound hunting, a lot of politicians don't even know what hound hunting is. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What are you guys doing this for? You can't do this. I know this group of people. They were always been good to me. Why are you trying to take it away? Well, our biggest lobbyist is an anti-hunting organization. Oh, well, yeah, no, I'm not going to pass this. You guys, I'm going to kill this bill because you tried sneaking this in, and it can save us. I mean, I've said this to a million people, and I know it gets old, but I am like 100% firm believer in the ripple effect. 100%. I am a firm believer that if there's somebody who needs help crossing the road, you go out there and help them, because you never know what that person is going to do from that moment forward. Mm-hmm. If you see somebody that's broke down, you go out there and give them a hand, help them change their tire, because you never know what that can create. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you have somebody at the banquet and you show them a good time and they ask you, hey, why do you guys even do this? Like, why in the world would you do this? Hop in the truck, man. We're not that type anymore. Hop in the truck and make your own opinion. Or if you want me to tell you, for a lot of us, we are very busy people. Some of us can't sit down. Some of us, in my case, I got addicted to hounds because it just took a lot of my time. My brain goes a million miles an hour, and those hounds really have kept me occupied to give me a sense of relaxation, to be honest with you. you know. And well, but don't you kill them? Yeah, sometimes it happens, you know. But that's not. I have more stories of getting stuck with my friends and not catching anything than
Yeah.
I do of catching a big bear or catching a big lion or catching a really big bobcat. You know, my stories don't include. Most of my stories do not include a harvest. You know, now if somebody asks me about guiding and whatnot, that's another story, in my opinion. That's a whole different ball game. But if you're asking me about my personal connection and why I do it, well, this is this is why I do it. You know, and you catch how much? And yeah, look, here's the picture. Here's this cat, didn't kill it. Here's this cat, didn't kill it. Here's this cat, didn't kill it. Here's this cat. Well, what good are you doing to anything? Well, actually, as a matter of fact, I'm doing a lot of good. I see your family camping right behind town here all the time. And guess what? There's bears that go up and down your campsites all the time.
Oh yeah.
You don't know it because they come out when you're asleep. And you know what? I'm out there driving through your camp and my dogs strike a bear that's nearby. We end up catching it. It's going to razz them for the day. You know, I don't have to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll harass him for a day, and he grows a natural respect for humans.
Yep.
If you go, and the thing is, and I tell him, I says, and don't think that I'm just justifying it. Look at the statistics. Look at the human bear encounters in states where you can run hounds, and look at the proportion of human bear hounders in states that do run hounds, and see the difference, you know, and the numbers are going to surprise you. You know, California is already dealing with bears stacking cabins, you know, going into residences and whatnot. There's nothing to razz them. And when they do get razzed, guess what they're getting razzed by? Dogs. The very people that got outlawed, you know. You can't do this, but we need you still to do this, you know, and it's one of those things to where we have to open the eyes to these politicians and be like, are you guys really going to stand up for us? Are you guys going to, you know, really portray us for what we really are? Or are you going to keep getting your eyes blindsided? So if we have a banquet and one of our members, doesn't even have to be anybody in the board of directors, one of our very own members that's just walking through there and just happens to bump into the guy and starts talking, leaves a good impression. The gentleman asks questions, he's informed, and 5 years goes up for governor. Oh my gosh, can you believe John? Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have somebody on your side, and you have somebody that understands, you know. And if you do the right thing, and you're good to people, despite how they feel about you, despite how they judge you, despite how much they want to hurt you, even people that hate hunting, if you're good to them, in my opinion, the right thing happens, because you never know when you set the example who you're going to affect. And that is the basis of the ripple effect. One person can change an entire outcome. Just one.
Yep.
Just one. And those banquets help a lot with that. Our field trials help a lot with that. And, you know, social media can help out a lot of, you know, with that. A lot of people are very against social media posting and whatnot. I engage conversation all the time. There's always going to be somebody that says, I hope that bear kills you. I mean, that's just, everybody has the right to think that.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I'm glad you think that. I'm not going to fight you. After talking to some techies, I've come to find out that a lot of the times there's not even a human being posting that. It's artificial intelligence that is poking the bear to engage enactment, so the ads are worth more money. Yeah. So that way you're just logging back in, so you can keep the fight, and you can keep the fight, and you can keep the fight. And they will put that in there for you. And to them, it's nothing personal. It's just business. We want you to get engaged. We want you to argue with this person. We want you to, they call it, you know, engage in conversation. No, it's not. You're starting to fight.
Yeah.
But you're not. But they do that so that way you are participating more on that forum. And the more participation, the more their ads are worth, the more people want to do ads, the more people, you know, the more that company makes money off of it. It's how it works, you know. So if anything, stand by your moral grounds. And if somebody wants to razz on you online, don't engage in it, because that's what makes us look bad. In my opinion, if you have a good picture holding a dead mountain lion, or posing with a bear, and you have one picture of a dead bear and 150 pictures of bears and trees that you've let go, what in the world is anybody going to say to that? I mean, it's illegal harvest. If anything, it'd be funny. It's funny because how can these guys let everything go? They just don't kill anything, and then it arises more conversation. Like, why would you let all those go? Why did you only harvest that one? Or why? Well, I don't really do it to kill. I just, we were in a good place. This bear, looked like something that I went to harvest. We weren't too far from the truck. He had a good layer of fat. A lot of us, we like to refine the bear fat and pie crust, leather, oil. It's the best out there. And me personally, I like the meat. I mean, I'll eat bear meat over gosh dang sagebrush mule deer any day. I've eaten more meat than most people, and I just laugh when they tell me, "Oh, we'd eat it, Nate, but it's all wormy." And I'm like, "You've only eaten one bear. I'm eating good gravy." There's gentlemen that will harvest a bear and they don't want the meat. They feel bad for leaving it out there, and they'll pack the hindquarters and the back straps, and heck yeah, we'll make some sausage. I like to throw it in the Dutch oven, broil it up with a bunch of spices and seasonings and vegetables, and throw it on a taco. Man, it's awesome. But we have to go out there and not hide behind a tree. You have to just stand up and just kind of wave your hand and say, "Hey guys, we're here. We're not what Hollywood's saying we are. We're not what these organizations are saying we are. We're really human beings. We're fathers. We're mothers. We're doctors. We're lawyers. We're businessmen. Some of us are veterinarians. We are the people that are helping make the world go round. And for you to honestly think that I deserve to get mauled by a bear, well, I think there's a lot of people that would disagree with you because they know who I am, and they know that if you needed help with something, despite your opinion of me, I'm going to be there to give you a hand with that, because that's how I was raised. That's what you do.
Absolutely. Well, before we close this thing, I need one more good story from you.
Oh, good gravy. Oh, man. So, gosh, I don't know what in the world I have, I'm trying to think of the funniest one that's been just here. I have a story. Yeah, gosh almighty. I don't know, probably 9-10 years ago, I was hunting with a friend of mine, and my friend John and I went up to a bait site, and we turned the dogs loose at the bait. We knew it had gotten hit because they just started going, they started going pretty good. So they go up the canyon about 1.5 miles, 2 miles. They cross the creek and they start coming back for us. And I told old Johnny, I says, I think that bear's coming back for us. I really do. And be prepared. He might be running by us. So we're watching for this bear and watching for this bear. Every one of our hounds went right straight to the barrel. And that was it. Just kind of stopped. I mean, they screamed all the way to the barrel and kind of stopped. I was livid. And it's funny because my buddy John's from Butte, John McLaren, and those boys, they have a short fuse on them. And he was just giving his dogs the benefit out. We don't know what happened. Maybe the bear ran by us. I mean, maybe they got on some trash. And I was just throwing my little hissy fit. And I'm like, whatever, man, get the gosh dang dogs in the truck. And we went and loaded up the dogs and slammed the tailgate. And all of a sudden the breeze hit and the dogs blew up. And I was just out there screaming at them, like, shut your gosh dang mouths, you're no good for nothing. Like there is nothing out there. And John goes up to me and he says, well, Nate, if they're barking, they're smelling something. So why don't we just let them go? So we got the box and we turned the dogs loose and they went straight to the barrel and started treeing. And I was, oh my gosh, I was about ready to blow my top off. And John just looks at me and starts laughing. And he says, that bear's right on the same tree that barrel's tied to. And I walked up there, and sure as heck, the whole time when we turned those dogs loose and they ran that track all the way to the edge of the canyon, and we're staring at our GPS, the whole time there was a bear about 20 feet above us just hanging out, and we were oblivious to it. He was there the whole time. The dogs just trailed the whole loop from when he had hit the bait probably at night to go into his bed, and then hitting it in the morning before, daylight, and then going back to his bed. And we just happened to pull in while he was on the barrel, heard the truck, went up the tree. We turned the dogs loose, and we're standing right under him the whole cotton picking time. And once again, another one of those insert foot into mouth type situations.
Yep. We all do it at some point. You just seem to have a knack for it.
Yeah, I have a knack for it, brother. It's just me. I can talk trash stories all day long. There always seem to be the most memorable ones.
Yep, for sure. Well, I won't hold you up anymore tonight. We might have to get some more of those trash stories sometime down the line. So, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Ben. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Yep. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.